Greetings, greetings, Dharma wayfarers. Greetings, and I see so many people joining from around the world. So, salam, marhaba, guten tag. I don't know the rest of the languages, but greetings to all of you, wherever you are in the world. Lovely to be together and to practice together. So, today is the culmination of our exploration together this week. We've been exploring feeling tone in Pali Vedana, Vedana, which is simply noticing that every object that arises in the 6 sense doors, the 5 sense doors, and the door of the mind in Buddhism, that with each object that we notice, that consciousness comes in contact with, there's also a feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And it's in her. It's how the mind perceives the object. These qualities, these tones, are not inherent in the object. They're not inherent in the object themselves as a quality of the object, but it's the quality that the mind associates with the object. So we've been noticing that, exploring that, and exploring how the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral leads to thirst, grasping, wanting, not wanting, aversion, etc., as we explored yesterday in the wheel of dependent origination. So today, the invitation is to explore that these tones, they arise and they pass. We've explored the impermanence a couple of days ago, that they're impermanent and changing. And today we'll explore that they just arise. The mind gets, they get labeled. They're not so personal. We'll explore the impersonality, or also which is also thought of the aspect of not self. They're not so personal. We don't have control over them. We don't control to perceive something as pleasant or unpleasant. They just arise the same way that winds, different kinds of winds, hot winds, cool winds, etc., they just arise. Or as clouds in the sky, weather arises. We don't follow every wind. We don't take it personally. They just arise. And by realizing, by actually seeing that in our meditation, hopefully maybe once or twice this morning, we'll see that, yeah, they don't need to be taken personally. It's just pleasant. Okay, great. It's just unpleasant. Okay, great. It's just neutral. Great. It is what it is. So that allows us, that can bring so much freedom. We don't have to necessarily act on every single pleasant or unpleasant that arises in our sphere of experience. We don't have to. We're not compelled. We don't have to be these dolls, these rag dolls, marionettes hanging from the threads of pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. We don't have to always be following the pleasant in our experience. We don't always have to be pushing away the unpleasant. It can just be there. And it's okay. It doesn't bother us after we learn to see it for what it is. This clear seeing can bring so much freedom. So for our practice today, we'll start again with settling in the breath and the body. And when something arises, if you notice perhaps a sensation, and maybe with the breath or a sound, sounds are the most easy to notice this, or a thought, notice when the Vedana, when the feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, arises, when the mind associates. See it for what it is. See it lightly. That is just arisen, not out of your control. And it can be as it is. There doesn't have to be a reactivity to it. And can always come back to the breath and body resting until in the next stimuli comes up, which you want to notice. Otherwise, just resting with the breath and the body. A sense of spaciousness and calm. So, I'd like to invite you to get into your meditation posture. If you need to shift and move to be more comfortable, or maybe sit up more straight. And landing. Landing in the body. Landing in this moment. Letting go. Letting go. Letting go of any tension anywhere in your body you feel. Maybe taking the next 3 out breaths. Just to arrive more fully in this moment, in this body. And inviting your shoulders to drop. Your arms and hands to relax. Your face to soften. Forehead to soften. The jaw to soften. Maybe even opening your mouth as wide as comfortable and making an exhale. And letting the jaw close naturally. Inviting the center of gravity of your awareness to move down from your head where we associate. Being aware with our head thinking, move it down, down through your chest, abdomen, to your sit bones. As if you were perceiving, as if you were receiving the breath and all sensations from your lower abdomen. Being aware of yourself and the world. Hearing receiving everything in your lower abdomen. Simply resting with a relaxed body and mind, receiving the breath, settling in this moment. Feeling embodied, noticing the breath within the body. As any objects arise in the sphere of experience, let there be awareness, awareness of their feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And then dropping this new reflection into the body, not in the head, not thinking about it. Dropping the reflection of who feels, who is it that's experiencing, perceiving the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Again, not to think about it. Drop in the reflection in the body and let it lead, guide, perhaps a new way of seeing, a new insight into the nature of feeling tone. And dropping in the reflection one more time into your body, as if you were dropping them in to resonate in your abdomen, a pebble in a calm pond, and see what arises. Who feels? Who perceives? Who feels? Who notices? Who knows the Vedana feeling, tone of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Who knows? Who feels? Who feels? And for the last moments of this sit together, letting there be appreciation in your heart for yourself, for having showed up, for having practiced, and letting go of the outcome. Non-attachment to outcome. You try, you did your best. Whatever the conditions of your mind were in this moment, you don't have so much control over it. So letting that go, letting go of the judgments, and just letting there be appreciation that you showed up, you did your best. And may your actions in aligning your actions with your intentions, this offering, our best offering, the best we can offer ourselves and the world, be a cause and condition. May it support our own waking up and the waking up of all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy and free, including ourselves. Thank you for your practice, everyone. So, feeling tone, Vedana, valence, also translated and used in psychology, or hedonic tone. So, what we can notice is that not only is there this perhaps noticing the pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral associated with an object, which to say it can take some time to get used to really notice. It's almost like in Asian languages, in Chinese, um, their tonal languages, such that it's not just the vowel a, e, o that in, for example, English are significant. They transfer, they give information, but also there is a tone. Is it going up or down? Ah, ah. The tone associated with the vowel has information. And for example, Westerners, it's really hard when they're learning, say, Chinese and Asian language, to to notice the tone at first. We can be tone deaf. We can be tone deaf, not noticing. We can hear the vowels, but not notice the tones. It takes some paying attention to. Similarly, with noticing Vedana, feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, which is associated with an object, we can notice the object. Oh, there's a sound, there's a sensation, there's a pain, but we may not notice the tone of it at first. So if this week has been challenging, like, where is that tone? Please, please hang in there. Don't lose heart. It's a practice. Your ear, your proverbial ear will become more attuned to noticing feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, associated with objects, or how the mind perceives the object, because it's not inherent in the object. Um, it'll start to pop up, and when you see it once clearly, um, usually in meditation, clearly seeing with some level of samadhi, then it starts to pop up um, in other places. You start to see it also in your daily life. So I'd like to encourage you to please hang in here with this practice. It can be a little nuanced, um, but really worthwhile. So, exploring impersonality today, that it's impersonal, it's not self, it's anatta. It just arises, this way of perceiving, given our moods, given our views, given how we're feeling, our physical health, we associate, given our history, the mind associates particular Vedana with different experiences. And of course, there are some biological sense, as I mentioned a couple of meetings ago, for the painful ones associated, which usually have for the pain in the body that has unpleasant Vedana. But all other Vedanas, the mind can label them pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Um, and it's not inherent in the object. It just depends on how they get labeled. So and to see that, oh yeah, who is it, the one who's feeling this tone? There's a sense of it's being felt. Oh, unpleasant is just being felt. Pleasant is just being felt, or neutral is just being felt. There, one can see there is no ownership. It can actually be one's opening, a way of opening into this profound teaching of not self, anatta, through Vedana, through seeing it just being felt. Unpleasant is just, it's just unpleasant. It, and seeing it kind of sitting there, it's in space without ownership, can be profoundly transformative in how we see ourselves and how we take this being to be. Um, so, a couple of things I wanted to share with you in some Yutta Agama Discourse 29. Um, these Vedanas, feeling tones, are likened to winds. And it's a beautiful passage. I'll read it. It is just as fierce winds that can suddenly arise in the sky, coming from the four directions, winds that are dusty or winds that are not dusty, world pervading winds or world destroying winds, weak winds or strong winds, even whirlwinds. Feelings, that's Vedana. Vedana in the body are just like those winds. Various types of feeling arise, one after the other. Pleasant feelings, painful feelings, neutral feelings. So just like winds that arise and pass, strong winds, weak winds, world-destroying winds. Um, so this metaphor isn't just a metaphor, it's an instruction. So there are various ways to practice with the impersonality of Vedana. Today we chose who feels, which is actually a teaching from the commentaries. Um, and it's not often taught because it's in the commentaries, but who feels, to explore who is the one who's feeling the Vedana, experiencing the pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And this seeing them as winds, that's another way. So had had we had another week, we would explore all these different things. So I invite you, if you're curious, if you're interested in this topic, try this other teaching, this other metaphor. Another metaphor that's used in some Yutta Agama of the simile is of the guest house. Um, and it goes as just as different kinds of people stay in a guest house. They come, they go, they come, they go. This body too is just like a guest house, pleasant and unpleasant and neutral feelings just visit and leave. And by the way, that reference I gave 29, I just realized in my notes that's not the number. I don't have the number of what where the discourse is in Samyutta Agama. Uh, that was my paragraph number. So noticing these feelings, the feeling tones arising and passing, um, there can be a sense of freedom in the midst. They just arise and pass. We don't necessarily have to act upon them. We don't have to be a slave to them. And this profound teaching, um, this profound teaching also shows up in a teaching that you might have heard about the two arrows, which is the Salata Sutta, the arrow, um, and many of us have heard that often when life hurts us with one arrow, we add a second arrow of lamentation and sorrow, and why me and why this. And really, this teaching in the Salata Sutta is based on Vedana, feeling tone. So the first paragraph, and it's a beautiful sutta. Let me read some paragraphs for you. And practitioners, an ordinary person experiences pleasant Vedana, Sukha Vedana, unpleasant Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, and neutral Vedana, Adukkha, Asukha Vedana, neither pleasant nor unpleasant Vedana. A well-instructed disciple also experiences pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral Vedana. So, what difference, what distinction, what distinguishing factor is there between the well-instructed disciple and the ordinary person? Ah, interesting way of teaching the Buddha. Like, what is the distinction? And the Buddha continues, when touched with unpleasant or painful Vedana, the ordinary person then also experiences sorrow, grief, lamentation, beats their chest, and becomes distraught. So they feel two pains, a physical and a mental pain. Just as if a person was shot with an arrow and right afterward they were shot with another one, so that they would feel the pain of two arrows. In the same way, when touched with painful or unpleasant Vedana, the ordinary person sorrows, grieves, laments, beats their chest, and becomes distraught. So they feel two pains, physical and mental. As they are touched, I'm going to continue to read because I think this sutta is beautiful. It's so instructive. As they are touched by painful Vedana, they become resistant. Interesting. They become resistant. Here's a key word. Then, in they who so resist unpleasant Vedana, an underlying tendency of resistance against unpleasant Vedana comes to underlie their mind. Wow, profound, right? When you resist, an underlying tendency to resist the unpleasant comes to underline their mind. Touched by unpleasant Vedana, they yearn for sensual pleasure. Why is that? Because the ordinary person does not know any escape from unpleasant Vedana, aside from sensual pleasure. Then, in those who seek sensual pleasure, an underlying tendency to lust for pleasant Vedana comes to underlie their mind. They do not know as it actually is present, the arising and ending of these Vedana, nor the gratification, the danger, and the escape connected with these Vedana. In they who lack the knowledge, an underlying tendency to ignorance as to the neutral Vedana comes to underlie their mind. I think this is quite profound, how the tendency, the resistance, the pushing away of the Vedana arises, and then the tendency to always run away from painful Vedana towards um, sensual pleasure, as it's translated, raga as lust. But it's not just lust, it's any sensual pleasure. In comparison, um, the the well-trained disciple who's also been touched by Vedana, they do not resist it, the Buddha says. In them, no underlying tendency for resistance arises. Under the impact of painful, unpleasant Vedana, they do not proceed to seek sensual happiness. And why? As the well-taught noble disciple, they know an escape from painful Vedana, other than seeking sensual pleasure. So, what is the escape here? The escape isn't the pushing away, but it is the practice of the third and fourth noble truth, is seeing, knowing, is what we've been practicing this week, getting to know Vedana for what it is and getting to see its impersonality, given that it just arises and passes. So that is the escape. It's that it's impersonal. It just arises and it's there. It doesn't necessarily have to be acted upon when it's clearly seen. So, in that way, the well-trained disciple only feels one arrow, which is the arrow of the Vedana, not two arrows. So, that is the difference, the Buddha says. This is the distinction between the well-instructed disciple and an ordinary person. So, dear ones, I hope that our practice together this week, practicing with Vedana, feeling tone, has been supportive for you, for your practice, for your life, in waking up and having more ease and freedom, and in serving, in service of others. And if there are reflections that you would like to share with me, you are welcome to send me an email through my website. It's nikkimurgafori.com. I can put it in chat. Let's see, I can do that. So there is, here we go. I put it in chat, so you're welcome there on the contact sheet, sheet on my website. There is a way to send me an email, as long as you don't necessarily expect an email back. But I would love to hear of your reflections, if you would be so kind to share. How has it been for you exploring Vedana this week in these different ways? Has it been easy, challenging? What has popped up for you? And yeah, it's just an invitation. And again, I put it in the chat. It's nikkimurgafori.com, my first name, my difficult last name to pronounce, and .com. So it's been lovely to practice with you. I hope this has been of service. I hope this supports you and is supportive to all whose lives you touch. So deep blessings, warm blessings, bows to you and your practice, dear international Sangha. As I close my eyes, I feel you all over the world, sitting with me and practicing in this moment, and sitting with each other and practicing. What a beautiful Sangha. May you all be free and well. Thank you all. Take good care. Until the next time we meet on the Dharma path.